Mihrimah is considered the most influential sultana of the daughters of sultans, who in the entire history of the Ottoman Empire had the highest salary, had the status of a true lady philanthropist, and also only she managed to lead a harem without being a valid sultan. She was a legendary person, a unique princess. Legend has it that the two mosques built in her honor by Mimar Shin were erected in such a way that when the sun sets behind the minaret of one mosque, the moon rises between the two minarets of the other. An important detail of this legend is that Shin, who had the honor of seeing Mihrimah once, fell in love with her, and that is why his works in her honor are so accurate and beautiful. According to Ottoman traditions, Hurrem could no longer go to Suleiman's Havit after Mehmed was born. According to the well-known rule, one son, one concubine. However, Hashik not only returned to the Sultan's bed for the birth of Mihrimah, she gave birth to 4 more children after her. It is believed that Mihrimah was the only little princess of Suleiman, but it is believed that he also had Razi, born by another concubine. However, in the old palace, in the harem, only Mihrimah lived. Her father idolized her and often visited the palace, where he played for a long time with his beloved daughter. Later, when the harem moves to Topkapi, Mihrimah will become a frequent guest surrounded by his father. As a child, she spent a lot of time with her mother Hurrem and the servants. It was then that Hashik addicted her daughter to embroidery. It is believed that Hurrem was an unsurpassed craftswoman in this business and was so skillfully engaged in sewing that she presented her works to the monarchs of other countries. The marriage of the Sultan's sisters and daughters was always arranged for political reasons. It was the most profitable tool in building important administrative units of the ruling Sultan's entourage. But in the matter of marriage, Mihrimah's parents were in no hurry and took a long time to select a candidate for her husband. Contrary to the events in the series, it is claimed that Hurrem was looking for a young and beautiful spouse for Mihrimah, while Suleiman wanted him to be smart, reliable and faithful, regardless of his age and appearance. They even say that Hashik found such a groom for her daughter and recommended him to Suleiman. He was the governor of one of the provinces, who was famous for his beauty and youth. But only Suleiman was categorically against such a marriage, since this man had a reputation as a womanizer, and there were rumors that he had syphilis. Then Suleiman chose the only possible, in his opinion, candidate for the position of husband. Rustem, who had served the sovereign faithfully for 10 years, proved himself a reliable and loyal friend. Hurrem did not resist such a choice of her sultan for long, because Rustem was really quite close to their family, knew all the Shahzad and, allegedly, could even see Mihrimah, and she had already seen him, too. In general, the princess parents agreed. It remains only to enlist the consent of Mihrimah herself. Could the moon-faced princess say no to such a marriage? Historians agree that yes, she could have told her father that she would not marry Rustem and he would have accepted her refusal. After all, he loved his only daughter. Then Suleiman went to a lot that was not typical of the Ottoman sultans until now, in matters of family. However, Mihrimah said yes to marriage, probably because she tried to support her mother in everything, knew about the fratricidal law from childhood and devoted herself to protecting her brothers. She understood that there is Shahzad Mustafa, and Rustem not only knows the Hurrem children, he loves them, which means he will do everything to prevent them from dying. The wedding of Mihrimah and Rustem took place in 1539. At that time, the princess was barely 17, and Rustem was about 35 years old. Simultaneously with the wedding of Mihrimah, the circumcision ceremony of Bayezd and Cihangir took place. Such a huge double holiday lasted in Istanbul for 15 days, people walked and rested, rejoicing at such happiness in the Sultan's family. Again, Rustem was close to the dynasty, and therefore Mihrimah did not have to go anywhere with him, which once again proved the correctness of the choice. And Suleiman and Hurrem did not want to lose sight of their beloved daughter. There is no doubt that the marriage was not concluded for love. In any case, there were no special feelings for Rustem on the part of Mihrimah. However, contrary to the events shown to us in the series, this couple had great respect for each other. Well, Rustem Mihrimah simply idolized. The rather warm relationship between this couple is evidenced by the fact that soon Mihrimah had a daughter who would become the beloved granddaughter of Hurrem and Suleiman. Although, according to the laws of the Ottoman dynasty, a spouse could refuse intimacy with her spouse. In addition, Rustem and Mihrimah conducted quite a lot of joint projects related to charity. These relations ended with Rustem's death, after which, despite having such a right, Mihrimah did not marry again. The husband left the widow a fairly substantial fortune and bequeathed the management of the nominal fund. Mihrimah also completed his mosque. Was Mihrimah as evil and heartless as her mother Hurrem? There are many legends around the duo Hurrem and Mihrimah. One of them says that Hurrem and his daughter did everything to bring Rustem Pasha to power. They did not disdain intrigues, not staged tricks, so that Suleiman would raise his son-in-law to the rank of Grand Vizier as soon as possible. Perhaps there is something in these stories, but we should not forget that Rustem served the Sultan for almost 20 years, proved himself to be an honest, loyal and intelligent administrator. Therefore, Suleiman did not need to prove that Rustem's candidacy was the most reliable. Rustem received great power and fairly broad powers, almost the same as those possessed by the Sultan's friend, Ibrahim Pasha. Mihrimah failed to achieve one thing: Suleiman always kept his distance from Rustem in order to prevent the former trusting relationship, as with Ibrahim, taught by bitter experience. When Mihrimah married Rustem and he later became Grand Vizier, she became a politically active Ottoman princess and sometimes got involved in state affairs. There is, for example, archival information that Suleiman wanted to take the daughter of the Polish king Isabella and her son to the Ottoman Empire as political prisoners. Then she, knowing about the power of Hurrem and Mihrimah, wrote them a tearful letter that she was widowed so early, and then Kanuni wants to deprive her and her son of the throne. Isabella asked for protection and mercy, fueling her pleas with expensive gifts. Mihrimah convinced Rustem that he should help, and it was not difficult for him to influence Suleiman's decision. Subsequently, Isabella's son will take the Hungarian throne. But of course, the main task of Mihrimah was to save the lives of her brothers and raise one of them to the Ottoman throne. At first, Hurrem and Mihrimah did everything to ensure that Mehmed, their beloved son and brother, got the throne. Unfortunately, Mehmed Shahzad died at a young age, and these two women no longer singled out any of Hurrem's other sons. They did not care who would be the Sultan, as long as Mahidevran's son Mustafa did not interfere with this. Again, there are many legends about the involvement of the Mihrimah in the execution of Mustafa. Perhaps some of this is true. However, according to most historians, Mustafa was to blame himself. It must be understood that no one has abolished the law of faith, and therefore, perhaps, some actions of Mihrimah can be justified. After the death of Hurrem, Mihrimah's life changed dramatically. Firstly, according to most experts, the relationship between the princess and her mother was too close. Even when Mihrimah got married and lived in a separate palace, there was not a day that she did not come to her mother in Topkapi. She was very similar to Hurrem in both soul and principles. Therefore, Hashik's death hurt Mihrimah's heart very much, but she had no time to suffer and cry. The mother handed over to her daughter all her duties in the palace and in the family. The tasks of Mihrimah expanded and had a great impact. Shortly before Hurrem's death, she and her daughter began to provide great support to Bayezid for his further ascension to the throne. In this, Rustem was a loyal ally for them. But after the death of her mother, the strength of Mihrimah and her husband was not enough to restrain Bayezid's ambitions, and when Rustem passed away, Mihrimah completely weakened. It is claimed that if Rustem had remained alive, Bayezid's execution could have been avoided, but the help did not go in time and the sister lost her brother and his children. Mihrimah still loved her father and supported him in every possible way. She was a fairly well-off woman and even allocated money to Suleiman for his state affairs. No matter how hard Mihrimah tried, the end of her father was already near and it was necessary to put up with Selim. Suleiman died, and left with only two of the family, the brother and sister chose peace instead of hatred. Besides, Mihrimah helped Selim from the very first days. When the Janissaries staged a riot, demanding a reward from the new sultan, there was no money in the treasury, and they were allocated by Mihra from the personal budget. Selim no longer hated Mihra. He realized that his sister, left alone, would support him until death, as she had been since childhood. She always protected the sons of Hurrem. He allowed her to head a harem with the function of a valid sultan. Thus the moon-faced princess assumed the burden of her mother after her death. It is not completely clear what the relationship between Mihra and Nurbin was. They say that at first she got along very well with her daughter-in-law, but when her own daughter Aish took the side of Safi, Murad's favorite, then Mihra was more inclined to this woman. However, it is argued that there were no bright conflicts during the life of Mihra in the harem. Probably it was not a confrontation, but there was respect. When the last brother of the princess, Selim, died, she was left all alone. Some write that Selim's son, Murad, who came to power, disliked his aunt because of her struggle for Bayezd, but there are no reliable stories about that. Mihra continued to perform the same role, and received the same amount of salary. However, the daughter, Aish, was politically active by that time, and Mihra was most likely tired of everything, and therefore voluntarily retired. Mihrim's death overtook her in 1578, when she lived in the old palace. She was about 55 years old. Murad, violating the rules and protocols, buried her next to her father, in the turban of Sultan Suleiman. Her daughter Aish continued her work. The descendants of Mihra live to this day. If you also think that the Ottoman history is interesting, subscribe to our channel, click on the bell. Watch these and other stories on the Empire channel. Good luck to all of you. Hi, Olivia.